ever since the launch of the iPhone, we've seen a meteoric rise in apps and the incredible things that these apps can do, right from ordering pizza to doing your taxes to even finding constellations in the night sky. As a species, we began creating so much information in so many different nuanced ways that this has inadvertently shifted the focus of every single business leader out there from building apps and winning in mobile to leveraging this data to make better decisions about their business. This shift from an app economy to a data economy has reshaped the business of today. Right until 2015, the focus of every single business leader out there was winning in mobile and making companies for an omni-channel world. If your brand didn't exist on the mobile, it would basically die of irrelevance. Now, 2015 was also the year Satya Nadella and Sundar Pichai became CEOs of their respective companies. Satya, in an amazingly bold and iconic move, shifted Microsoft's entire focus from Windows, which was their flagship product, and doubled down on their strategy on Microsoft Azure and Microsoft's entire cloud bet. And Sundar Pichai's rallying cry to his organization was, we will move from from a mobile first world to an AI first world. And what that basically meant was an excuse for every single Google product to be infused in artificial intelligence and machine learning and deep learning moving on. Both these strategic bets from Satya and Sundar were primarily focused around the three key technology shifts happening at that time. So the first big technology shift was, again, as a species, we began creating so much information in so many different nuanced ways that it would basically become the record, or it would basically become the reflection of human behavior in these nuanced and niche categories of things that people did. So it allowed companies to make better decisions about their products and services by understanding the data behind why people make certain decisions. The second big shift that was happening in technology was the fact that Moore's law began to see its absolute prime. So compute and storage on the cloud became so much more cheaper that it absolutely made no sense for companies to not move to the cloud. And that's exactly what happened. All the companies saw this giant shift of moving their entire infrastructure to the cloud that basically was made so much more accessible and democratized through amazing companies like Amazon and Microsoft and Google. And finally, the third big technology shift that was happening was actually a combination of the first two. The availability of compute and storage in much more cheaper and accessible ways with the combination of this massive amounts of data that was being created by human beings were combined, allowed amazing labs at Google, for example, the Google Brain Lab or the Google DeepMind Lab in London, to leverage all of this data and compute power and storage to create better techniques in machine learning and deep learning. And what that allowed for these labs to do was basically have some amazing breakthroughs come out of it that created a shift from the app economy to the data economy, but also a giant shift in artificial intelligence by allowing them to create some amazing platforms in voice, in computer vision, and in intelligent systems. So if you look at the breakthroughs in natural language understanding and natural language processing that gave rise to amazing platforms like Alexa and Google Home, and on the other hand, what we saw is computer vision become a lot more powerful in terms of being able to create new platforms like autonomous driving and so on and so forth. And when it comes to intelligent systems, we began to realize that machines could actually start competing with humans in much more creative ways. So when you saw how Lee Sedol was beaten by the Google DeepMind's AlphaGo system back in the days, and now very recently, Google's DeepMind also beating some players of StarCraft, has gone to actually show that machines can not just be fast in terms of in compute, but also incredibly creative in how they execute decisions. These three technology shifts have rewritten the rules of today. They've rewritten the rules of what it means to be a company in a technology-first world, in a world where data and artificial intelligence have become the absolute key differentiators, and kind of becoming the playbook of survival for a lot of these companies. One of the best examples that I see for a company that absolutely demonstrates what it means to be this company in this technology first world is actually Stitch Fix, valued at over $3 billion right now. Is a company that acquired some very, very critical insight about how consumers shop, and what it means to actually buy clothes, finding the right fit, and getting your style and your taste evolved by actually partnering with another stylist. Is the fact that they applied machine learning to a consumer journey in a radically simplified but also an amazing way that is now beginning to create dents into some really big players like Macy's and Nordstrom that still continue to operate in these archaic business models. And what this has gone to show is that these companies are almost beginning to create the template for companies of the future. So when you look at similar companies to Stitch Fix, so when you look at Airbnb over a Marriott or a Hilton, when you look at a Robinhood over a Fidelity or an E-Trade, or when you look at even a Turo over an Avis or a Hertz, what we're beginning to see is companies that are really skyrocketing and creating that giant leap of difference between the companies that still continue to operate in these old world business models. And one of the things that I absolutely think are incredibly differentiating about these companies is the fact that everybody from the managerial level to the executive level actually understands the shift in mindset, understand the importance of technology, and understand not just what it means to be this company, but also have the skills to deliver upon that need for and to push the company in that direction. So when you look at some of the leaders at, say, a Marriott or a Nordstrom, compared to the leadership and the skills that the executive teams and the managerial teams of Stitch Fix bring, you see this difference extremely clearly. And I think that this is why it's becoming a lot more important to acquire these skills, to understand this mindset, understand where these companies are going, and basically start moving towards them.